Hello and welcome to another edition of Jazz Tales, and I'm very pleased this evening to have a person I've known for quite some time, and I think he's ideal to have as a guest for Jazz Tales and what we do here at Jazz Alive. I have with me tonight the great saxophonist Paul Carr. Paul grew up in Houston, Texas, and he was a member of the Kashmere High School stage band whose director, the late Conrad Johnson, is the subject of a documentary, Thunder Soul, produced by actor Jamie Foxx. And he carries on the Texas tenor tradition as well as by great heroes such as the late Arnett, Cobb, and Don Wilkerson, who served as early idols and mentors. He's recorded 8 CDs, which include Standard Domain, which reached number 3 on the Jazz Week radio charts. DC NYC Organ Sessions reached number 9 on the Jazz Week charts. And he's got a new CD out called The Real Jazz Whisperer, which we will find out a little bit about shortly here. Paul has toured Russia, Europe, the Middle East, Caribbean, Central, and South America, and has shared the stage with pretty much the who's who of jazz greats. He was President Bill Clinton's favorite saxophone player and played many of the Clintons' private events. He's passionate and committed to education with our young people. And in 2002, he founded the Jazz Academy of Music, which hosts summer camps as well as jazz ensembles throughout the year for our young people. He's the director of the Gettysburg College Jazz Ensemble, and he's won numerous accolades, and rightfully so. I mean, as I said, he's a perfect guest for us here at Jazz Alive. 2012, ABC Channel 7 News awarded him the Harris Hero Award for his work with the music students across the area. 2014, his alma mater, Howard University, honored him with the Benny Golson Jazz Master Award for his outstanding work as a performer, presenter, and educator. And in 2015, the County Executive's Education Award in Montgomery County, Maryland. And 2019, he was selected as a Jazz Hero. It was a really great article, too, by the way, for Jazz Journalists Association. And as I say, if that wasn't enough, in 2010, Paul reestablished the East Coast Jazz Festival as the Mid-Atlantic Jazz Festival, where he serves as the artistic and executive director. It is my great pleasure to welcome the one and only Paul Carr. Paul, welcome.
Thank you, Fred. Wow, wow, you actually read that so nice. God, you acted seriously. You make me sound a lot better than I am. So that's great. I didn't know you had chops like that.
Oh no. This really. I mean, and I think I haven't done it justice.
No.
You know, people. You really need to go to your website because I that's not even all of it. So, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You know.
So we're going to get started today
Yeah, sure.
with It Could Happen to You.
All right.
Welcome, folks. It's been way too many years.
I can say that. I can definitely say that.
Yes,
for sure.
so great having you here.
Yeah, man. Wow.
As you know, we say hi to people. So, good evening, Fred and Paul. Have a great show. Lou Russo, who is our vice president. Janet and Lou are up in Nutley, New Jersey.
Wow, great.
Ed Reffeld. Ed comes to Westminster a lot. He lives in
okay.
Washington, D.C. He says,
Cool.
looking forward to hearing Paul tonight. Miss seeing him at Westminster
Yeah, I
Presbyterian
miss
Church.
being there. I miss being there. Wow.
David and Netta up in Montville, New Jersey. Thank you so much for joining. I don't know why the message is retracted. I don't know what you said. Caitlin Fitzpatrick, good to see you again, Caitlin. Thank you so much for being with us. She's one of the students that's here.
Definitely.
From
Cool.
Nutley.
Love the students. Definitely.
Yeah. David, there we go. Good evening, Fred and Paul. Looking forward to tonight's music and conversation. Fred, you're setting those keys on fire. Well, thank you, Ed. Appreciate it. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you, Katie. Appreciate it. Great opener, says David. Zachary McKeeswitz. I'm sorry, Zachary. Great job. Zachary's also a student. I think he's the college student. We'll find out later when we get to the end. Tom Bob, nice. And Donna Ewing, middle school band director here in Easton. We've got a bunch of her students. She said she's a graduate of Gettysburg College.
What?
I'm loving hearing you play, Paul.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
There we go. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for your very nice comments. So next we've got I Remember April.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. like we rehearsed it.
There you go. There you go. Just like we rehearsed it. 410 aerial photography and inspection. Great opener. Thank you, Tom, Bob. So good. Ed, lovely. Thank you so much, folks. Appreciate it. We're going to do a ballad right now. This is called Polka Dots and Moonbeams.
I don't know if this is a subtone reed or not.
You know, that's still one of my favorite ballads. I
Yeah.
learned that one at a very young age. I just, yeah.
Yeah, you sound wonderful on it.
Oh,
Beautiful.
thank you. Likewise. You know, I think the first version I ever heard of it, my dad had a record of I Quebec playing it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you remind me of when you get into the lower
Oh,
tones
yeah,
and all
the
that.
subtones,
that
yeah,
subtones.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Everybody's sweet, nice, great ballad. Well done. Thank you, folks. Appreciate it. Thank you. Sarah, 8th grader. Okay, great. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
8th grade.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll learn about her later. So, those of you that are new to us won't know this, but I ask the same question to everyone who comes in here. Our mission here at Jazz Alive is the continuation and preservation of America's indigenous art form. And one of the ways that we do that is through getting the music to young folks, like having you folks that are here with us tonight and hearing the music, getting into areas that don't see this music quite often. And what I like to do is ask, especially since we have students here, is what is it that happened early in your career, or maybe later? Some of the folks have surprised me with their answers. But was there one thing or several things that made you go, yeah, I'm going to be a musician, I have to be a musician, and more importantly, jazz?
Well, I'm probably one of the early adapters. My mom used to play music in the house all the time, so she loved jazz. So I would, so I grew up listening to, the records. She had the records on, and so there was this battle because my sisters were older than me, so they was in their teenage years, so they was listening to, rhythm and blues and the Beatles and the Temptations. I had that going on, and then my mom is listening to, Muddy Waters and Blues Cats and Charlie Parker and all that kind of. So I had all that going on, but I knew. And she said, well, as soon as you get in the 5th grade, as soon as they allow you to get an instrument in school, then, play she loved the saxophone, so well, I'll get you a saxophone. So and she used to buy me the toy saxophone, so I used to be playing those jokers. And when I got the saxophone in my hand in the 5th grade, I knew that was it. I was going to play music. Now, as far as me, and I knew I was going to, try to play jazz. Now, as far as me, and it wasn't very much long after that. I knew I wanted to play music for the rest of my life. I wanted to be in it. So and I had really good teachers. So that might be your next question. So my junior high school band director was a saxophone player. And he's still around. And he went to school with Billy Harper.
Wow.
Yeah, so up at North Texas.
Wow.
So he was very familiar with the whole practice regimen of being a musician and that whole thing. And then you mentioned in the opening, and my high school band director was famous, Conrad Johnson. And, they made a movie about him and about his life, and I was a part of that. I was actually his last class in 1978. And so it was, he was the subject of the movie. The premise of the movie is like he's in this economically depressed neighborhood. I grew up in Kashmere Gardens, and he had this terrific jazz band. And years before I got there, they would go to these contests and they would win, and they would play, and they win. And he basically merged kind of like funk and jazz together. Of course, you had to do that to get young people into the room, and so. But it was on a very high level. He was a saxophone player himself. So, and he wrote a lot of the charts. So a lot of times, and he could write for the band. So if the trumpet player can only play a high G, then that's what it was.
And that's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it. And the charts were unique, and plus they had the feel because he knew how to bring that out of us. So that's why. And legend. We went to all over the country. I didn't go to Japan with him, but he took the band to Japan and a lot of other players. That was right before I got there.
Wow.
The band went to Japan, but we went to the Reno Jazz Festival and just won. It was
Sure.
it was crazy, you
Yeah.
know. And it was a you know, I can say it was an all black school, and coming from, you know, the area, so it's a nice story, you know.
Yeah.
It's a nice story. you
That's
know.
great. Wow. Wow. And you know, there's something to be said for making your band sound good by picking the great material. But, you know, as you know, with what you working with the young folks, that if you don't have a lead trumpet player that can play the written stuff, sometimes that's a very limited. So for him to write that, he was going to make you sound good no matter what.
No matter what. No matter
That's
what.
amazing.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we'll get on to why he was one of your mentors in the next segment. Let's play some more tunes.
Okay,
I think
cool.
we had, I remember you
Okay.
next.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great old
Very nice.
tune. I
Very-
remember you. Yeah, yeah. Kalani says, just lovely. My son plays sax under the tutelage of Miss Donna Ewing. Yes, we'll learn
All right.
about your son shortly. She's an amazing teacher. Yes, we know that.
Yes.
And we're very fortunate,
Love
Paul.
it.
She's also on the board of directors of
All
Jazz
right.
Alive. So
Sorry.
thank you, folks. Appreciate it. Here's a tune by Joe Henderson.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to think about it for a second.
Yeah.
Joe Henderson. This is called Recordame.
Yeah. You got it.
That's a great standard.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
really is. Great. Ed says, great way to relax, listening to the two of you play while sipping good Irish whiskey. Ed will be right over.
Yes, exactly. I was just going to say, where is it?
The next tune is another great standard, a great ballad, Jimmy Van Heusen and Johnny Burke. This is called Darn That Dream. Beautiful.
So great.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Hey, could I just say one thing? I just want to say that I know everyone hears Fred playing with, with all of the razzmatazz and the magic and the hocus pocus, but there's a lot of subtle things that's going on, and right from the onset, when we play together, you were listening to me, and I think that's a bit. If there's one thing that I could bring out tonight, is musicians is communication. We have to listen to one another. I don't like it when I hear musicians. They can be great, some of the greatest players in the history of whatever, and they play, and then they all are playing in their own corridor. So it was just right from the beginning. We were listening. I was listening. You was listening. I could tell with you when you were playing. You're listening to me, and so that's why if I could tell the young musicians, you have to listen. You have to use your ears when you play music.
It's interesting because I was about to say that to you, and you beat me to it.
Yeah,
because young people, I can't stress this enough. He's just walking me right in. I mean, I might play something harmonically, but he's just walking me right into where he wants to go. And he's listening to me, and I'm listening to him, and it's just such. Yes, there's a lot of harmonic and melodic history there that you just. We haven't played together in what? Unfortunately. Well, it was right after I moved here. I tried to do the St. Michael's Jazz Festival.
I remember that. Right.
That was the last time that we played together.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was a long time. But if you know the language and you're listening, the big thing is listening. You know.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an old glove.
Right.
So when we're talking, and I talk about mentors, this has kind of become my second question because everyone that's been here has had some person or a group of individuals that have affected them, and obviously the band director that you had, and you mentioned some others. But what is it that you think, and I said this to our young people a couple weeks ago too, is that sometimes a mentor's right underneath your nose and you don't even realize it, and you might miss all of these great messages. And I think it may have been Michael Bowie or someone that said, and sometimes it's not even like even directing you in a specific place. It's just kind of, hey, check this out.
Exactly. Yeah. I tell you, I wish I would have listened a lot more when I was younger, because I had a lot, like you said, I had a lot of mentors around me, and they almost had to hit me over the head for me to get what they were saying. But I'll never forget, I was playing second alto in a big band, and right next to Don Wilkerson. See, a lot of people think that a lot of people think that in those early Ray Charles records, it was Fathead Newman, but it was actually Don Wilkerson, and he's just from Houston, and an unsung cat. But for people from Texas know who he was. So these guys were all playing. Don Wilkerson, Arnett, Cobb were playing when I was in high school. They were just playing in town, so I'd go to their gigs. So I was, for some kind, I don't know how I found myself on this big band gig with him. Don was sitting right next, he's playing lead tenor, and I was playing second alto. And I was scared to death. So I took a solo, and I might have been 18 or 19 years old, and it was just, I'm sure it was just awful, nuts all over the place. And when I sat down, Don Wilson had this look on his face. It was and I asked him, I said, how do I sound? And he said, I think you have potential. But the way he said it, it's like, yeah, you need to keep working. You need to keep working. And I knew it was bad, but I just wanted to hear what he had to say about it. And that really inspired me I ended up taking a few lessons with him. That really inspired me. So I know these days that might scare some people off because, it's a different time. But that really just lit a fire in me. Like, yeah, okay, but you need to get after it. You got potential. So that's a good compliment from someone like him back in those times.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll never forget one of the first times where a guy said to me, "You're playing the wrong notes." And I'm like, "Well, it's jazz. How are there wrong notes?" And he just looked at me and said, "Trust me. You're playing a bunch of wrong notes."
Right.
And I was offended by that.
Right.
But of course I went back and I started, really buckling down and trying to figure out,
what he meant by that.
What he meant by that.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Kenny Werner. When I started studying with him, I was already in the Jazz Ambassadors. I'm traveling. I'd already played all the
Right.
festivals in Europe and all this. And Kenny says, "Man, you play really nice." He says, "But there's a couple scales in here that I think you're missing.
Right.
You hear them and you're trying to do that, but they're not in here."
Right.
And then he proceeds to just show me these exercises. And of course, he didn't just
You just play it, right.
right,
That's what you do, right,
And I'll
right.
go off and I'll see you in a month. you know?
Right,
It's
exactly,
like,
exactly.
wow,
But
yeah.
that's a great lesson, though. That's a great lesson. You
Yeah.
know?
Changed the way I thought about the whole thing.
Right.
As soon as I heard those scales, I'm like, man, how did I miss these?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've had students like that that have come to me. One that very similar. One that comes to mind is Braxton Cook. He's popular now, and
Oh, yeah, I know.
yeah. And when he came to me, he was playing all around the stuff. He knew kind of what it was, but he didn't know specifically what it was. So very similar to that lesson you got from Kenny Werner, you
Right,
know.
yeah.
And see, all of those are lessons. It doesn't have to be, okay, well, we're going to do a weekly thing and it's going to be this. A lesson could be a nugget of information that changes your outlook, refocus your efforts in a way that puts you on track, you know, because, you know, you were just a little sideways, that's
Right.
all, you
Yeah.
know, and he
Yeah.
just lined you up, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, it all made sense. It's like
Right.
that one extra light bulb that I needed.
Right, exactly.
Wow. Wow, that's a great stories. So let's play an old standard called Doxy.
Doxy. music too?
Oh yeah, we come prepared. Man, folks, you got to get that record. That's one of his earlier records, Standard Domain, right?
No, that's Musically Yours.
Musically Yours. Oh, well, it's the title cut.
Yeah. It was written for Joe Henderson.
That's right.
Yeah,
right.
right.
Yeah. You know, when you sent it the other day, you had Mulgrew Miller on there.
Mulgrew, yes.
You know,
yeah.
I'm looking at his changes, and Mulgrew's got a whole different sound,
well,
man.
You did
especially
too.
that A flat. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you
Thank
too. But yeah, it's that's the thing about it. It's like I send you something that say F7. I mean, that can mean, what does that mean? I mean, so it's like if you have it's like your sound, the sound that you put it into it. Yeah. So at best they would, well, I guess some kind of sus or something and all that,
And he kept it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, he was through. But that was one that as soon as I didn't look at the record, I just pushed play, and as soon as I heard it, I knew it was Mulgrew, and I forgot that he was on that record because I had that record.
Right, and how that Mulgrew Miller came about. I've heard people. I've had a very great musician in Washington D.C. who we both know he says I don't know anybody who would cold call Mulgrew Miller to play on it, but it really wasn't a cold call because Terrell Stavitt, great trumpet player, actually knew Mulgrew, and he asked Mulgrew would he play on the session. But yeah, of course, I still had to call him and talk to him. But he didn't know me. He didn't know me. He wasn't familiar. But he was just the most gracious person. But that was that. I met him right in the studio. So we met. We went through we ran the music down, talked through it mostly. You know how it goes in the studio. We just talked through it down and we did it.
Wow. Well. This segment I kind of leave open. So since we are talking about records, tell us about your new one.
Well, the new record is called The Real Jazz Whisperer, and that musician that I just mentioned, he was the one who said that, and he wrote this tune, and he wrote the tune called Real Jazz Whisperer, and he wrote it for me. He has a series at UDC, and where it Meet the Artist, and he writes a tune for I guess every guest. And he wrote Real Jazz Whisperer. So I grabbed the tune, and I go downstairs and I start, you know how well I play the piano, and I start banging it out on the piano and messing around with it on my horn. So I came back upstairs and my wife said, "Gosh, he really got you, didn't he?" I was like, "Man, am I that predictable?" So so that ended up being the title cut, Real Jazz Whisperer. But there's a tune on there by James Williams, the guy that you just mentioned when we were talking, great pianist from Memphis, Tennessee. So there's a tune on there that's underplayed tune, in my opinion, by Wayne Shorter, Dance of the Cadaverous.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So
what's the James Williams tune?
It is called Another Type Thing. Another Type Thing. But I can hear you playing it. So
I play his tune Soulful Bill, which I really like.
I do. Yeah. Like I said, I could hear you playing that tune, Another Type Thing. And it's kind of a straight eights type of thing.
Oh,
and
cool.
He does, real cool too. So anyway,
and is it out and on record?
It's out. It's on all of the streaming, iTunes, Amazon. It's not on Spotify, but it's or you can get it from my website if you want a physical copy. But you can certainly get it. You can get downloads from my website, Paul Carr Jazz, if you wanted to.
Great, great. Yeah, and the person we're talking about is Alan Johnson. Great piano player.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to have him on Jazz Tiles, hopefully this next session. He's just a wonderful piano player. I love the musical conversation you're having with one another as you play, says Ed. Thank you, Ed. I think it's probably the Irish whiskey, but
right. Makes everything sound good.
Yeah, there we go. We've got another tune, and it's a tune that I've played often. Those of you that were with me on the happy hour or the lunchtime thing, and Jim just did it a while back, and it's so great. It's one of my favorite tunes. It's a tune by Johnny Mandel called Emily, and it's always great to hear how everybody plays it differently. So here's Johnny Mandel's Emily.
Whatever you got, I'm following you.
Now, here's the point in the program where we thank some people and introduce these students that we've had with us this evening. I'd like to thank Janet and Lou Russo up in Nutley, New Jersey for sponsoring Zachary, I'm sorry, I know I will mess up your last name. So, Zachary, who plays bassoon and tenor sax. He's from Nutley, New Jersey. He graduated from Nutley High School, where he was in the jazz lab, jazz ensemble, wind ensemble, marching band, chamber singers, and concert choir. And now he's at the College of New Jersey pursuing his his degree in music education.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. We love it.
Max Lensick, who's a bari sax player from Nutley, New Jersey, and he's at the high school in the jazz lab, jazz ensemble, wind ensemble, and marching band. Thank you, Janet and Lou. Appreciate it. Jamie and Aldo Russo from Whippany, New Jersey have sponsored Katie Fitzpatrick. Katie's been saying words in here. Thank you, Katie. In fact, she's there in the last part of the chat, says that was great. Alto sax player at Nutley High School, jazz lab, jazz ensemble, wind ensemble, and marching band.
Beautiful.
Jack Bumpus, alto sax player, also from Nutley, New Jersey, who's in the jazz ensemble, wind ensemble, and marching band. Thanks again, Jamie and Aldo. Really appreciate it. Next, longtime friends up in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, Sherry and John Zimmerman, have sponsored Sarah Nestel, an 8th grade trumpeter here in Easton, Maryland, who's at the Easton Middle School, plays in the symphonic, marching, and jazz bands. She was a medalist in the Eastern Shore Band Directors Association Solo and Ensemble Festival. And also Kanoa Short, who's an 8th grade saxophonist. Her the mother's signed in earlier and said great things about Donna. Easton Middle School Symphonic and Marching Band. Thank you, Sherry and John. Appreciate it. And Netta and David Aragona up in Montville, New Jersey have sponsored Thomas Sobieski, alto player at Nutley High School, who's in the jazz ensemble, wind ensemble, and marching band. And finally, we have the music supervisor here in Talbot County who have sponsored students throughout this program as well for this session number 2. And they have sponsored Brianna Stevenson, an 8th grade clarinet and contralto clarinetist in Easton Middle School, Symphonic Band and Marching Band, and Eastern Shore Band Directors Association Junior All Shore Band, and a medalist in Eastern Shore Band Directors Solo and Ensemble Festival. Wow, these kids are doing it. Jada Jones, 7th grade alto saxophonist from Easton, Maryland, Easton Middle School Concert and Marching Band. Thanks again, Christine and James Redmond from Easton, Maryland. Folks, if you'd like to find out how to sponsor a student, first of all, we're going to take a couple weeks off here, but please, if you're not signed up for our mailing list, please go to jazzalive.org and sign up for the mailing list so you'll know when we start the next session of Jazz Tales and what all that's going to be. So if you're not on the list, and also, just tell your friends about it. Everybody here gets 2 or 3 people to sign up on our mailing list. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that we need. We need to get the word out there as much as possible. Thank you to all our sponsors. And again, if you'd like to find out, just get in touch with me and I'll let you know how we do it for the next session. Paul, it's been so great having you here.
No, pleasure's been all mine. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Any quick last words for our folks here?
I tell you, it's really, it's good. It's encouraging to see so many young people, on the stream tonight, and thanks for the sponsors for keeping the young folks involved with it, because that's what we need. And then the young man that was studying music education, which is great, because we need really good teachers.
Yeah. Yes.
That's enthusiastic about the music.
There we go. There we go. Well, thank you, folks. We're going to close out with a great standard. This is called "The Song Is You." Thank you so much,
Thank
Paul.
you, man.
Thanks for being
a lot.
here.
Yeah,
Thank
kind
you.
of spaced on that one a little. Hadn't played it in a long time, but I wanted to play it. But great tune.
Thank you, folks. We'll see you hopefully in a couple of weeks. Please sign up for our mailing list so you know exactly what's happening. Thank you. Have a great evening.